Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Driver's Ed this evening. So please sign in. Welcome. Looks like we're almost getting to a full class, so we'll be moving on in a moment. For those of you that are on right now, you can write down, go to your Facebook page for this class, and I have downloaded Chapter 13 homework that I wasn't able to give to you. So the worksheet has been loaded. And I have a worksheet for this evening. The worksheet for this evening. So go to the Facebook page and download this sheet right here. It's a New Hampshire accident report. So part of our homework for this evening, we'll be completing this form. This is what you're going to have to fill out if you ever have a crash in the state of New Hampshire. So this is a form. It's got two sides. So make sure I've got part one, part two. So we got the front and then we got the back. So make sure that you download. The other thing that I said that I finally have is this is Chapter 13 that we had because we spent a lot of time talking about bad weather, and this is a very good worksheet to get you ready for the final. Some of the questions, and I'm looking over it, and a few things we didn't go over that I'm going to have to review our last class before the final. So those are the two forms. So make sure that you have both of these. Make sure that you have both of these downloaded. How can I lose 5 people in the first 2 minutes of class? I wish I knew who was still here, who's cutting out early. But I'll find out. Okay, what I want you to do is get a blank piece of paper, open up your notebook. You can see behind me, tonight's class is going to be on car crashes and insurance. What to do if you are... That's fine. If you don't have access to a printer, you can mark it up. I think if you download it onto your phone, and you can even use your fingernail, and you can do A, B, C, D, and fill it out that way, and then just send it back to me that way. I don't think you need a printer to do the homework. You can actually download it and send it back to me in its original format that way. So I'm trying to read the comments as they're coming in, and there is a delay with this computer program that I have. So let's kind of get right into what we're going to be covering for tonight. So accidents and financial responsibility. Actually, I don't know. The camera didn't work on this. Let's see if I could go back. Actually, let's just get right out of that. Don't need to see me. So I know I like the word crashes better than the word accident, but I'm going to go with what the state of New Hampshire is using for terminology. So I'm not a big fan of the word accident. I think most things that happen out on the roadway where two cars collide into one another that can be avoided. So I like the word collision or crash, but in New Hampshire, they're still using the word accident. So the term that I want you to write down is defensive driving. Now, hopefully after learning the information here online in class, and we're going to apply it when you get behind the wheel of a car, is being a defensive driver is going to make you a safer driver. It's going to help with your insurance rates because you're not making claims, and you're not going to get injured or killed. And that's what the bottom line is. That's what we want. So the basic definition is if every driver always obeyed the rules and always drove sensibly, driving would be simpler and safer. So this is what I want you to write down. To be a good driver, to be a defensive driver, you must watch out for the illegal acts of others. So most of your time driving is going to be looking at where the problem areas are. When is that pedestrian coming out in front of me? When is that door opening up? When is the light going to change? The more active you are in your thought process while you're driving, the better driver that you will be. Now, the last part of this definition is talking about when you know something is going to be wrong on the road, someone's doing something wrong, even though it's not your fault, you're able to avoid a crash. You're willing to take the precautions necessary to avoid it. Rather than say, if he hits me, he's going to pay my insurance, he's going to take care of making my car whole again. That's not a way that you want to drive. You don't want to pay people back for doing things wrong either, like tailgating. We're going to have a whole thing on road rage coming up too. A lot of times people are using their vehicles as weapons now to teach people a lesson, and you definitely don't want to do that. Other things, you don't have to write this bullet down, but stay alert. So don't just fixate your eyes straight ahead at the target. You want to be looking sides because of peripheral vision is going to help us see motion and color. Always looking for where you think the problem areas are. Just around a corner, up over a hill. Is there a bicyclist or dump truck coming up? How am I going to handle that? So if you're always thinking about what's the worst thing that's happening up the road and what am I going to do when I get to it, you're going to be pretty good. You're not going to, scare the drivers next to you on the roadway. They're going to feel pretty confident of your skill level, and you'll feel a little bit more confident too. Remember to always keep a proper following distance, so that's your 3 or 4 seconds. And if you always have the mentality, it's probably, let me get out of that. It must be an echo again. For some reason, the built-in microphone kicks in. Always expect the driver to do the wrong thing, the other driver to do the wrong thing, and have a plan of action. Okay, one of the worst things that will ever happen to you while you're driving will be being involved in a crash. If anybody wants to share in the comments here on YouTube, if you want to put down in the comments whether you've been in a car that's been hit, that kind of helps me understand, your mindset when you're driving with me. But everybody probably will at some point in their driving career either be hit or hit somebody. I know I've been in a few crashes. We're going to talk about that tonight. One was with a student, and I've been on one crash by myself on black ice. It's not a fun thing. You've got to know how to protect yourself, and maybe if you see it coming, you can take action to minimize what is going to happen to you. So the first thing here is being hit from behind. That is probably, if you're going to choose where to get hit, getting hit from behind is probably the best place to get hit. Now, in your notes, what I want you to write down, whenever you're coming up to a stop sign or a traffic light, always be looking for cars coming up behind you. If you always give yourself a little bit of room in front of your vehicle so you can see the tires touching the pavement of the car in front of you, and someone hits you from behind, you're not going to get pushed in front of the car that's in front of you and hit them. So there's going to be a space cushion to the front that's going to absorb a lot of that impact. So be ready to apply your brake pedal so you don't get pushed to that other car. And remember, you're going to feel a jolt. So by holding the steering wheel tightly and pressing your head against the back of the headrest, let me see if I can get out of this. Pressing your head back, holding the steering wheel tightly, you're not going to have that quick movement of your head. You're just going to have a little bit of movement. But that's because you're looking in your rearview mirror and you're going to be ready for what is happening. Being hit from the side, in your notes, what I want you to write down, being hit from the side is very common in parking lots and downtown areas where there's angle parking. Most people that are angle parking or backing out of a parking spot have a hard time looking in their rearview mirror, looking to right and left to see if there's any cars coming. So they're going to probably be looking predominantly either to the right or to the left, and they're going to inch out and not see that you're coming. And if you're not looking at them and they're not looking at you, okay, that's how you're going to have your crash. That's how you're going to have your first side impact. So once again, brace yourself. The worst place to be hit on the side would be at an intersection going through a traffic light, because you're going through at a good rate of speed. They're running a red light. They're going at a good rate of speed. This is where you're going to get pushed into oncoming traffic or maybe onto the soft shoulder. So this is why it says get ready to steer quickly so you don't get hit from another direction. So we're talking about major intersections. But parking lots, it does happen probably more so than traffic lights, because you're going to be going by a lot more people backing out of parking spots than people that will ever run red lights. Okay, the worst of all crashes is being hit from the front. Now, why would someone actually hit you from the front? Well, probably because you're not paying attention. Because the minute they start getting close to that yellow line, write down in your notes, if someone is crossing the yellow line, what do you think your first course of action should be? It is to beep the horn. Lay on the horn. Make sure that they're looking back up at the roadway and not maybe down at their phone or changing the radio station or picking up some food or putting on makeup. There are many reasons why people are not paying attention nowadays when they're driving. But you don't want anybody to cross the center line to hit you head on. But what they're trying to convey here is that if you don't have your seatbelt on, it's going to be pretty brutal. We're talking injury, definitely. If you're getting hit from the front, you don't have your seatbelt on, even with an airbag, because you're going to bounce around in the inside of the vehicle after the airbag deflates. But hopefully, you've got your seatbelt on and you've got a car that's got many airbags. Now, I don't like the last bullet here. This is for a car that doesn't have airbags. This is to get away from the steering column. Just kind of move away from the steering column if you don't have an airbag. So we're talking about driving a car that's like an antique. Hopefully you got your seatbelt on, because you still have seatbelts in cars that were built in the 80s and 70s, but you don't have airbags for the cars back then. So just kind of get away from the steering wheel. It says if you're going to get hit head on, because you don't want the steering column coming right at your chest. Because if you take a look at when you're grabbing the steering wheel, the steering wheel is right where all your vital organs. So what it's saying is that if you don't have that airbag, kind of move away a little bit. Move away. You still got your seatbelt on, so that's going to grab you, but you're not going to be going forward into the steering column. We don't want that to happen. Okay, the crash has happened. So whether it's been hit from behind, to the sides, or to the front, now we're going to talk about what to do. This is the most important thing that we're going to talk about in the next 10 minutes, so please write this down. Do not drive away from a crash. Stop and be responsible. Face the music. Always stop. Now, I don't think it's a bad thing to go up the road a little bit, because maybe you think if you stop right now, you're going to get hit again. So if it looks like you're going to get hit, maybe you want to go up the road a little bit. Now, it used to be explained that if you can move your vehicle off the road, do so you don't block traffic or cause another crash. But before you do that, and before you write that down, this is what I want you to do. I want you to draw a diagram. Let's see if I can get my marker. So I want you to draw this diagram. And I'll put it on the board right here. Okay, draw a picture of a crash where a car has gone over the center line and it has hit you in your lane, so you're not at fault. Okay, so this is your first crash. He came around the corner too fast and he hit you in your lane. All right, now notice his car is taking up half his lane. You're taking up all your lane. So what I want you to write down, okay, is to take out your phone. Take out your phone and take a picture 4 locations. So you want to take a picture from behind, from the side, from the front, and from the other side. So you're going around the crash and you're taking a picture from each side before you move the vehicle. Now, the reason why you're doing that is that if both cars are movable, if he can move his car off the road and you can move your car off the road, it's going to be very hard for the police to reconstruct what happened. By taking a picture, it's going to show you the relationship of where you are to the center line. Maybe there's a sign over here. It's going to show a relationship. So if there ever is a need to go to court to find out who really is at fault, at least you've got pictures, because pictures don't lie. People do. So at the scene of a crash, everybody's going to make themselves out to be the victim and not the perpetrator. They're going to say, I was coming around the corner and I just kind of lost sight of where the road was. Something flashed or something came in my eye, and that's why I crossed over the center line a little bit. But in reality, they were going too fast. So they're going to try to make up stories. So don't plead innocence or guilt. We're going to talk about what to do now after you've taken those pictures. So after you've taken the pictures, and then you can move your vehicle, then call 911. All right. Very important that everybody gets treatment as quickly as possible, because as time goes on, the internal injuries could be fatal. So you don't want to lose any time. Get on the phone or have someone get on the phone, call 911. When you call 911, everybody comes. Police, fire, ambulance. So it's not like you have to call separate entities to come out. Give aid to injured people, but remember, stay within your skill level. If you've been trained in first aid, this is a time, okay, to put it to use. That's why you've been trained in it. That way you'll help people out. Now, if nobody is really hurt, get the names and addresses of all the people involved in the crash, including the injured people, because you're going to need that when you fill out your accident report and when you talk to your insurance company. And that's what we're going to do for our homework. Okay, what to record of the other driver. Okay, name, address, driver's license, number and state of issue, make of the vehicle, model and year of the vehicle, damage to the vehicle, his insurance company name, and names of the passengers in the vehicle. Now, that's a lot of information. The easiest way to do this and to handle it, let me get out of here for a second. What I want you to do is to ask for their license. They're going to hand you their license, and then what you want to do is take a picture of their license, because it's got all that information. Their license number, their address, their name, and take a picture of their registration. Picture of the registration is going to give the VIN number, the title, not the title, the registration will give the address, make, model, and VIN number of the vehicle that hit you. So that's important information. Word of wisdom to you. If it's a minor crash, all right, and the person is saying, I'm sorry, I know it's my fault, I don't want to get the police involved, how about if I give you my name, my phone number, and we'll just handle it amongst ourselves? I wouldn't do that, okay? The thing is that people have a tendency to make themselves look honorable. But after you leave, they could give you a fake name. They could give you a fake phone number. You don't know that unless, of course, you maybe look at their license. The other thing you've got to be skeptical about is, wonder if a person that hits you doesn't give you their license when you ask for it. What would you think? That he's being difficult? Maybe you should think, maybe he doesn't have a license. Maybe he's under suspension or revocation. Maybe, like we talked about last night, he has an alcohol offense and he can't drive for the next 270 days. Call the police. Don't take his word that he's going to take care of things, because it usually doesn't work out. I still can remember I had a student many years ago I saw, and I asked her how things were going, and she said she was involved in her first crash, and it wasn't her fault, she said, but the guy said that he was going to pay for it out of pocket, and he never did. And they did exchange information. He did give a valid phone number, but he blamed her for causing the crash because he was an older adult, like maybe my age. And when you're 16, you're looking at someone that's, in their 50s, you're afraid to, you've been taught to be polite. You're afraid to maybe stand up for what's right. Maybe you're not. Maybe, other people don't bother you. But a lot of times kids don't want to, cause situations with adults, and I can understand that. So get the police involved. And by the way, the police will not say who's at fault, usually, at the scene of a crash. Usually what they're trying to do is to help facilitate getting all this information. So don't think by calling the police they're going to come and, get after that person that hit you. Now, of course, if drinking and driving, they're going to get arrested because that's illegal. But if it's just carelessness, they're not going to say, that person was going too fast. They're going to say, we're going to have the insurance companies take a look at it, and they're going to figure it out. Sometimes an officer may, by the sight of things, tell that something really went wrong. He may write up a ticket, but for the most part, that's going to probably be further down the road. It's not going to be right off. So this is all the information that you need, and you're going to need this for your homework, that sheet that I gave you. So give the other driver the same information. Note the details of the crash, date, time, location, speed. I don't know. Maybe I can actually show you what it looks like. Let's see if I can find it real quick. I'm going to try to throw what the crash report looks like. I'm going to try to throw it on. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's your homework. That's the sheet. Okay, see at the top, New Hampshire Motor Vehicle Accident Report. And what you've got to be filling out is city, town, police department, all this information that we're talking about. It's pretty simple. There are little boxes that you just have to put a corresponding number to what happened. So you're not writing like a paragraph, a narrative. And by the way, those of you that did your homework about the 2 paragraphs about changing laws and stuff, very insightful. You did a very good job with that. I'm very appreciative of that. And by the way, those that are doing their homework on a timely manner will be able to drive. I might as well leak it out. I'm going to start driving next week with some of you, so we're going to get things going pretty soon. I'm getting some holes in my week with some of my previous classes. So anybody that wants to be driving, drop me a line probably after tomorrow's class, and I'll see what I can do with getting people started sometime next week. But that's one of the forms. And on the back side, let me show you the back side of the form. This is the back side. What you're going to have to fill out is all the information that we had from the previous slide, the make and model of your vehicle, your address, your VIN number, all the stuff that we talked about. And down in the bottom left-hand side is a description of how did the accident happen. So this is what we're going to be doing a little bit later tonight. So I thought I'd at least show it to you. If the crash involved a parked vehicle, this is important. Leave a note, okay? Contact the police. So just don't leave a note. You've got to contact the police to let them know I accidentally, in a parking lot, backed up and I hit a car. They're probably in the store somewhere, but I don't want to announce it. over the store intercom that the owner of a blue SUV with a license plate, please come out. Someone has just hit your car. That's probably not the best way to get a shopper to come out of a store. You could wait around for them to come out, or you could just leave a note with your name, address, and phone number, and that you'll contact them later. Let me show you. I think this is the next slide. I'll see a doctor too if it's a real bad crash. You want to make sure that the doctor can tell you whether you may have sustained concussion or some type of injury. So that's always important if it's a serious crash. And then, of course, contact your insurance company. Let them know they're going to be getting a report from somebody that there was a crash. But this is what someone left for a note. Hi, my name is Jack. I accidentally hit your car and someone saw me, so I'm pretending to do the right thing and writing down the details. Sorry. So it looks like the person did the right thing, but in reality, okay, they didn't, okay? They just didn't want people to write down their license plate number and said that they drove off without being responsible. So don't be like that. So what is your requirement? What does the state require from you if you get involved in a crash? This I will test you on. Hint, hint, hint. Final, final. New Hampshire law requires that if anyone is killed or injured, or if there's property damage above $1,000, and by the way, most crashes now, any damage to a vehicle, it's going to probably be over $1,000. You're going to have to file a report to the DMV within 15 days. So there's three components. The money, $1,000 to the DMV, so you're not reporting it to the police station. You're not reporting it to the courts. It's the DMV, and 15 days. So on a multiple choice test, you may see 10 days, 20 days, 15 days, 100 days. So you got to know all three components. If you're not sure whether you should be filing a report, you should probably do it. I always do. I never rely on the police officer to do it for me. And I have found, because they're so busy, Portsmouth is terrible. We got hit in Portsmouth once, and their police department helped out zilch. Not at all. Very disappointed in the help that I got with the Portsmouth police. So file it yourself. And part of your homework is that report. So you're going to get good at it, hopefully. After a crash, or you just come around a corner and you see that there's been a crash, there's a few things that you should probably do. Park well off the road, okay, at least 200 feet. Warn people that there's a crash up ahead. You don't want other people to get injured and hurt by another crash. Call 911 so the police will come. If the vehicles are still running, make sure the ignition has been turned off. And if people are trapped inside and you think that there's a chance there could be a fire, then you're going to have to pull them from the car. Now, when I say pull them from the car, you really think that there's going to be a fire. Sometimes moving a person that has neck injury or back injury, you could be making it worse. So be very, very careful in that decision making about pulling somebody out. This might look familiar to some of you. Does anybody know where this is? Put it in the comments if you know where this is. This is where we had our first crash in the driver's ed vehicle. In between the silver vehicle and the white vehicle is a side road that leads to Saxby's Coffee. And that's where a college student came out from a side street and hit us on the side. Did someone get it right? Yeah, downtown Durham. You bet. Good job, people. Yep, good. Everybody knows it. So make sure you don't fall into the same mistake. Notice how the driver's ed car got hit. Okay, it doesn't look like much damage. Okay, here's another question that you can answer, and I'm not going to tell you for the next 5-10 minutes, all right? Okay, I'm gonna give away something. Okay. Let's have a little contest. Let's do a contest. All right. What I have, this is what you're gonna win tonight. So I'm gonna have to make a note that the person who wins this. Here is the competition. I'm gonna show you a picture of my car again that got hit. The closest person to how much damage was done to the driver's ed vehicle will win this tire gauge for air pressure. It's a nice little thing to have in your car. Okay, so this is kind of a cool thing to have. So someone's going to win this tonight. So I'm going to go back to the picture. That damage right there to the driver's ed vehicle. Okay, someone actually text it. Don't put it in the comments for YouTube. Text it to me so no one else can see it but me. All right, so text it on your phone. How much damage was this? And take a guess. The person that's the closest is going to win the gauge. Here's the damage to the car that hit us. You can see they just barreled right in on that corner. I truly believe she was on her phone. I couldn't prove it, but there's no reason why she should have pulled out as fast as she did. She should have been nudging out those safety stops that I had talked about before. It would have never happened. And I did X out the license plate so you can't tell who it is. Here is the information from her registration. So the police officer asked us to take a picture of the registration and take a picture of the license. So this is her insurance company, Arbella, and I crossed out most of her address. But you see there's a lot of information. And here's a picture of the girl that hit me. Okay, she was from Littleton, Mass. So this is, everybody's coming up with some good guesses. That's pretty cool. I'll tell you at the end of tonight. If there's a fire, try to put it out. Don't smoke around a vehicle. If there's electrical wires that are loose, my best advice to you is that if a telephone pole has been knocked down and is laying on top of your vehicle, stay inside your car. I'm going to get out of this for a second. Stay inside your car. Because I'm going to push my seat back a little bit. If you're driving a vehicle and the telephone wires are hanging on your car, remember, you're still alive, okay? So even though the wires are sparking, making noises and stuff, you're still alive. But think about this. The minute you open up the door and you start to get out, where does your left foot go? It steps onto the ground. Where is your right foot when you step out of the car? It's still in the car. What you've done at that point is you've grounded yourself and you could have electrocuted yourself. That is when you're going to get into danger. So what this is telling you is that if you feel too nervous about maybe the car is going to explode, what you want to do is you want to jump free of the vehicle with both feet. So don't make fun of me. I'm an old guy. So I'm going to show you. You're going to open up the door. You're going to stand on the side of the car, okay? And then you're going to jump out. You're going to jump out with both feet. You want to jump out with both feet. Never have one foot in the car, one foot out of the car. So stand on the door jamb and then kind of jump away from the car. That's the way to get out of your car correctly if there are wires. But best thing, call the power company and they can turn off the power and get you out of the car. If you're training first aid, as we said before, have someone, help with the first aid with you, especially like with CPR. Stay within the skill level that you have and you're going to be fine. There's something called the Good Samaritan law, which means that if you help people out of the goodness of your own heart, you're not going to get sued, or it's going to be more difficult to get sued. Too many people just don't want to get involved, so they just keep on walking away. And we don't want that to happen. Stay with injured people. Wait till the ambulance comes. The thing that I would recommend to you, the few crashes that I've come upon, do not give out too much information. Most of the time, people involved in a crash are going to be disorientated, and they're going to start asking questions. How's my sister? How's my father? How's my child? Don't answer those questions. Just say, we've called 911. Help is on the way. We're going to take care of you. You're all right. Be very positive, but don't be brutally honest. Like if they said, how's my sister? And you're looking around and you don't see anybody, her sister could have been thrown from the vehicle a good distance. It does no good to say, there's nobody else here in the car with you. She's going to freak out. That's going to make the situation a lot worse. Okay? So don't do that. If you're not the first person at the scene of a crash and your help is not needed, drive on. All right? So you don't want to make traffic hold up and cause another crash. So watch people directing traffic and filter through the area. Don't be a rubbernecker. Now, hitting a dog, I don't know if this is still in the manual. This is from the old one, but I do want you to write this down because any domesticated animal, a cat or a dog, you should stop and try to tend to the animal. There's nothing worse than a child to get off a bus and to find the family pet has been hit on the road. No lie. I've had a student. I'll get out of here for a second. I had a student, wasn't my student that hit the cat, but her friends that went to a different driving school ran over a high school teacher's cat in their neighborhood. And they were so afraid of the teacher that all they did was throw the cat on the lawn out of the road because it was dead, and then they drove off. And for the life of the high school teacher, she was trying to find out who it was. And the student that I was driving with didn't say who her friend was. Like I said, I was trying to say, you should probably tell your friend to be, honest and admit to it. It's not a good thing to have those questions not answered. So with a dog, you have to try to find the owner. And by the way, the driver's ed car has hit and killed a dog. And we did exactly what is listed here. We went and we found the owner. We went to 2 different houses. We found the owner. He said, I know I should have had my dog on a run. This is my second dog that has died on this road. I don't know how he got out of the house, but I understand that it wasn't the student's fault. He was very sympathetic to what happened. By the way, the student was so upset at hitting a dog, I had to drive back to the high school. The student could not drive, was totally shaken up, and that's understandable. And we did have to call the police, and we did have to file a report. So that is something that you need to do. Let me just show you a quick clip because hitting animals are really dangerous. So before we get into that, maybe I'll save that for the very end because I want to get through insurance first. So I'm going to continue on. Someone's going to have to remind me later if I don't show you the video on hitting animals. The state has done a video about hitting large animals that I want to show you. Write down in your notes, New Hampshire has no mandatory insurance law, so you drive at your own risk. If you're involved in a car crash with no insurance, you'll be held responsible for all payments of damages and are required to file an SR-22. So write down SR-22, and it's something that you have to have for 3 years. An SR-22 form is a type of insurance. It's in addition to what you get for car insurance. It's a liability type of insurance, and it's costly. I will show you. This.
When deciding whether or not to hire a DWI lawyer, many people consider the direct consequences of a DWI conviction: a loss of license, a fine, possibly having to take some alcohol classes. But one collateral consequence that many people don't realize is that the state will require you to carry something called SR22 insurance. It's a very expensive form of insurance, and you're required to carry it as a condition of your license for a minimum of 3 years. Now, I don't sell insurance, so I can't tell you what the specific cost would be, but I know that the expenses are absolutely astronomical. That's why it's important to consider all the consequences when determining whether or not to fight this charge. I'm Attorney Ryan Russman, and I look forward to meeting with you.
Okay, he is a DWI lawyer, so he was just speaking in regards to a DWI, but there are many reasons why. Let's see if I can get to it. Here we go. Here are reasons why you're going to have the SR22 insurance. A DWI, as he just spoke upon, and we talked about it last night. Homicide could be just that you were speeding and kill someone, maybe a pedestrian. Second time for reckless driving, or if your driving record is so horrendous, so bad, the state will require you to have an SR22. Now, when the attorney said it's expensive, but he doesn't know how much, he kind of was telling you the truth. It's going to cost you probably $3,000 to $5,000 per year. That's a lot of money. $3,000 to $5,000 per year for 3 years, on top of your car insurance. It's expensive. It's really expensive. So this is another reason why you don't want to have crashes or DWIs. I want to go back to the last. New Hampshire is the costliest state for young drivers. New England, look at Maine, Connecticut. Okay, we're right up Rhode Island, right up at the top. New Hampshire, 111%. Your premium is real expensive. So let's kind of talk about insurance. Now, even though I did some type of insurance when I was back in my 30s, I didn't sell car insurance. So I have Liberty Mutual as an agent, as a company, and they provided this video clip explaining car insurance. So they do it a little bit better than I do. So we're going to take a look, and I want you to take notes, and I'm going to give you a few notes after this is over, because I will tell you right now, if you are still on watching this right now and you're taking down good notes, I will guarantee I'm going to save you hundreds of dollars when it comes time to get insurance. What you will learn for the rest of tonight on insurance will save you money if you put it into practice. I'll guarantee it. All right? So let's watch the insurance video.
Hello, my name is Lisa LaLiberty. I'll be speaking on the basics of auto insurance. For most people, buying an automobile is their first major purchase. Actually, a new car is second only to a home as the most expensive purchase many consumers make. With vehicle prices averaging over $28,000, it's easy to see why one would want to protect that investment. Before we talk about coverage for the automobile itself, I'd like to start with what many people believe is the most important coverage of all, liability coverage. Liability coverage pays for the injuries or damage you or someone driving your car cause to other people or their property. The two liability coverages are called bodily injury liability and property damage liability. Every state has different laws dictating the minimum coverage you must carry for this. Some states require you to prove you have insurance before registering a motor vehicle, and other states use the honor system, where you only have to provide proof if you have an accident or violation. A typical state-required minimum coverage is 25-50-10, and I'll provide an example shortly to explain what that means. There are 4 states that do not require drivers to carry any liability coverage. Just because it's not required by law doesn't mean you don't need it. Let's say you have an accident. You're distracted momentarily and rear-end the BMW in front of you. There are 3 people in it, all of whom suffer some injury. If you're carrying liability coverage of 25-50-10, that means your insurance company will cover the cost of any one person's injuries, rehabilitation expenses, pain and suffering, and time lost from work up to $25,000. But they will not pay more than $50,000 for the accident, regardless of the number of people injured. This is the bodily injury portion. and your insurance company will pay up to $10,000 for the property damaged. So 3 people are injured. Let's say their injuries total $75,000, and the BMW has rear-end damage of $13,000. Your policy will pay for $50,000 for all injuries and $10,000 for the property damage. Where does the remaining $25,000 for bodily injury and $3,000 for property damage come from? Once your policy pays the maximum limits, you could be held personally responsible for the remaining amount. It's generally recommended that you carry more than the state minimum coverage to protect yourself from this financial risk. The next coverage under an automobile policy is medical payments coverage. This provision protects you and your passengers if you're hurt in a car accident, regardless of who's at fault. The coverage also extends to you and your family members if you're a passenger in someone else's car or if you're a pedestrian injured by an automobile. Medical payments coverage pays the medical bills resulting from an accident up to a per-person maximum, commonly $5,000. There are no deductibles and no waiting period under this coverage, and prescription drugs related to the injuries are covered. Consider that accident with the BMW again. Let's say that you and your passenger are both injured and taken by ambulance to the hospital. Medical payments coverage of $5,000 will cover the cost of the ambulance ride, the emergency room visit, and subsequent doctor's visits up to $5,000 per person. If your medical bills total $7,000 and your passengers total $3,000, the policy will pay $8,000 under this coverage. Some states have a medical payments coverage known as Personal Injury Protection, or PIP. This coverage may have a deductible, and it may allow you to collect for lost wages and rehabilitation expenses, 2 things that regular medical payments coverage does not cover. A third coverage provided by an automobile insurance policy is uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage. This coverage is quoted similarly to bodily injury liability. Even though mandatory insurance laws exist in 48 states, nearly 15% of all accidents are caused by uninsured drivers. Uninsured motorist coverage provides protection for you and your passengers when you're injured in an accident with an uninsured motorist. It will cover your medical bills, rehabilitation expenses, lost wages, pain and suffering, things you could have claimed against the at-fault party's insurance if they had it. Underinsured motorist coverage will cover those same losses if the at-fault party's coverage is insufficient for your loss. Keep in mind, in most states, the uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage applies to injury only and not for damage to your vehicle. Protection for your automobile is provided under the collision and comprehensive portions of a policy. Collision coverage applies when you have an accident involving another vehicle or an object, such as a telephone pole, a guardrail, a building, or when you overturn your vehicle. Comprehensive coverage applies in losses involving fire, theft, vandalism, broken glass, hitting an animal, flood or hail damage, or other losses not caused by collision. These coverages have a deductible, the amount you must pay before the insurance company pays for damages. Common collision deductibles are $500 or $1,000, and common comprehensive deductibles are $100 or $250. If your automobile is financed, then you're required by the bank or financer to carry comprehensive and collision coverages until that loan is paid off. It's important to note, an insurance company will never pay more to fix your vehicle than the vehicle is worth. 2 other coverages available through many insurance companies are towing and emergency road service and rental car reimbursement. While these coverages are optional, I always recommend them as part of my full coverage package. Automobile insurance rates are based on many factors, including where you live, your age, what you drive, how much you drive, and the coverage you carry. One way to keep your insurance costs down is to take high comprehensive and collision deductibles. As a vehicle gets older and is not financed, many people choose to drop these 2 coverages completely as a way to save money. Additionally, many people choose to pay for small claims out of their own pockets as a way to keep their rates down. But remember, the coverage you carry is just one of the factors contributing to the cost of insurance. There are things you can do to make sure you get the best price possible. The first is to keep your driving record clean. Your driving record is used as a predictor of future experience. Accidents and violations stay on your record for 3 years, and major violations and suspensions stay on for 5 years. Many companies now use a scoring model that combines your driving record with a variety of other information, including certain elements of your credit history and prior insurance claims to determine your cost for insurance. This means that paying bills on time could affect your insurance rate, as could the number of claims you file on your policy. Automobile insurance can be confusing, but a little knowledge can go a long way in providing you the protection you need.
Okay, now that she's got you all confused with all this terminology, things that you've probably never heard about before, what I'm going to try to do is kind of break it down and give you a little bit more insight of why you should probably have this insurance or not have this insurance. So let's take a look at the terminology that she was throwing around. So these 3 terms you should write down. One of them will be on your final. Policy. She talked about your insurance policy. So an insurance policy is a legal contract between you and the insurance company. It's legal. It's something that will be held up in court. It's not something that you can modify without both parties being in agreement. Usually you're going to modify insurance policies at the end of the year. You know, they usually go the whole course of a year. But for some reason, if you had to add a student or add a driver onto the policy, or you bought a different vehicle, you're going to be able to change it pretty easily. So how much does a policy cost? That is the amount of money that you pay for your policy is called premium. And when I say that there are different pay schedules, most people couldn't probably pay out of pocket, especially a young person. If their insurance was $1,800, that's a lot to pay up front. But if you were to break it down by paying about $175 a month because you got a part-time job, that's a little bit more bearable. That is something that you could probably do. Now, deductible is the hardest term to understand because it says the amount of money you pay for each crash before the insurance company pays the remaining cost. But wait a minute, I just paid $1,800 in a premium. Why am I paying more money? To keep the cost of insurance down, they've come up with this technique of having you pay a deductible. When people know that they still could be paying more money, they're going to drive better. Now, this is where you're going to save money. Always go with a high deductible if you feel you're a good driver. The different types of deductibles that you may find: $250, $500, and $1,000. So if you did a deductible of $250, let's just say that the premium is $1,000, all right? And you're paying a $250 premium. $250 deductible, $1,000 premium. Let's say that you double your deductible to $500. Guess what happens to the premium? It goes lower. It goes down to maybe $800. So if you go up higher on the deductible, the premium goes down. So now you're paying $500 deductible. Now your premium is $800. If you go to $1,000 deductible, maybe the premium for the year will go down to $600 or $500. You're always going to pay a higher premium with a lower deductible. Now, your insurance agent may not tell you that. So when you look at your policy and you look at the deductible, ask him, can you go with a higher deductible? You'll save money. All right? My wife and I always go with a very high deductible. We don't get in car crashes. So why pay a high premium that you have to pay every year? We go with a low premium and we just hope we don't have a crash. And it's been years and years and years since we've actually had one. So let's go into what New Hampshire requires. Okay, you don't have to write this down. I just want you to understand this is the bare minimum of an insurance policy in New Hampshire. $225,000 if there's injury or death to one person, $50,000 for death or injury to more than one, and $25,000 for damage of property. That's not a very good insurance policy. So don't get the bare minimum that New Hampshire requires. If you look at what I have to the right, it says the common coverage may look like, if you were to put that 100,000 where the 25,000 for injury or death to one person is, that's more reasonable. If you total somebody's vehicle and it's worth $40,000, okay, you're going to want to make sure under number 3 that you've got 50,000 rather than 25,000 for property damage. So you can change these numbers. I'm just saying a common policy is going to look like 100,000, 300, and then 50. But you can always change. Now, I will tell you this next definition is the most important one to understand. This is the most important type of insurance to get, is liability. Just write down liability insurance covers what is happening to the other person. It has nothing to do with you or your passengers. Or actually, it just doesn't deal with you. So it deals with the person that you hit or the people that are in your car. It's always good to know that other people are going to be taken care of before you are taken care of. The next thing I want you to write down is collision and comprehensive. Collision means that you're going too fast around a corner. You went off the edge of the road, you hit a tree. Guess what? If you got car insurance, guess what? If you caused the crash, if you were negligent, if you were a bad driver, and you did $10,000 worth of damage to your vehicle, your insurance company is either going to give you not a new car, but money to buy a new car, or they're going to fix your car. That's pretty good. That's why insurance is so expensive, because it's a good deal. Especially if you're driving in around a $30,000, $40,000 vehicle, you're only paying $1,500 to $2,000 for car insurance. Sounds like the insurance companies get the wrong end of the stick. Now, comprehensive has to do with like hail, fire, theft, things that you're not responsible for but still may happen to your vehicle. And as it said in the video, you may want to drop these two coverages if you've got an old vehicle and you don't care what it looks like. You don't care if it gets pelted by hail. You don't care if you get hit and there's a dent on the side. You want to make sure you have liability, the one that we talked about just before. Personal injury, another would be like medical insurance. So if you've got good health insurance, this probably isn't going to be that important to you. So I wouldn't probably have it. It will only cover damages up to $5,000. So it's probably an ambulance ride, setting a cast, something like that. It's not that important. Roadside assistant and rental reimbursement, I never get, because I have AAA and I have another driver's ed vehicle and I have another family car that I could use if we have a family car that goes down. So I don't want to pay money for those coverages. Uninsured, I'd write down, very important. I would make a little star next to it. This pays for medical rehabilitation cost, funeral cost for you and your passengers if someone hits you and they don't have enough insurance. Remember the story that I showed you about Jackie and Reggie is in prison? He's not going to make a lot of money. Her medical bills were, what, $5 million? Okay, if she had this type of insurance, they're going to help pay for some of her medical bills, but guarantee she didn't have coverage that was going to cover $5 million. And I think that the hospital is going to end up probably forgiving a lot of those bills anyways, but most hospitals want as much as they can get from you. Before I get into letting someone borrow the car, let me explain what we just went over. So we went over liability, collision, comprehensive, medical, roadside assistant, and rental, and uninsured. Each one of those has a money value attached to it. So when you go to an insurance agent and say, I need an insurance policy, he's going to quote you and he's going to cover all those things. But if you don't want those things, write this down in your notes. If you do not want those things, if you don't want roadside assistance, if you don't want the rental, if you don't want, let's say, comprehensive, that could save you maybe $200, $300 to take it off your policy. So a lot of times people are paying for things that they don't want or they don't need. So the more you know, the better off you're going to be. Let's talk about borrowing somebody's vehicle. This came up in my family. My daughter, who's married and lives in Massachusetts, she, out of the kindness of her heart and her husband's heart, they let someone borrow their vehicle. And yeah, guess what happened? He got involved in a car crash. So what happens if you let someone borrow your vehicle? It's your insurance company that is responsible for what he does behind the wheel of the car. A lot of people think that his car insurance, let's say that his car's in the shop and he's got insurance on it, he just can't drive his car, it's getting fixed. He borrows yours. You think, well, he's gotten car insurance, I'll get money from him. No, it's your policy. So make sure, all right, make sure that this is covered on your policy. So read it. Make sure that you've got that type of coverage. It would probably be under comprehensive or collision, one of the two, definitely. Let's talk about how to save money. Now, you can't do anything about how you were born. You're either born male or female. So according to your gender, they're going to give you a rate for insurance. And you're probably thinking, what does gender have anything to do with car insurance? This is what I want you to write down. Car insurance rates are based upon car crashes and tickets of each gender. So every state, like we'll deal with New Hampshire because we live in New Hampshire, looks at all the 30-year-olds, male and female. How many males, 30, got into car crashes? How many males, 30, had tickets? And they come up with a formula of how that's going to transpire the following year when they turn 31. So this is just the law of numbers and of average. So if you like all these math equations that you have at school, A, plus B multiplied by C squared, this is car insurance in a nutshell. But the thing that I can tell you right now, and if you can take a look at the chart, is shop it around. Okay, this is part of your homework as well as what I asked you to do with the accident report. I want you to come up with 3 different car insurance companies, and I want you to get the phone number of 3 different car insurance. So basically you're Googling it. It should take you all of 5 minutes. What I want you to get in the habit of doing is shopping around your insurance policy. So give me 3 insurance companies and what their phone number is. I will guarantee that if you call 3 different insurance companies, you're going to come up with 3 different prices. So the more people that you call when it's time to get your car insurance, you're going to get the best coverage. All right? But compare apples to apples when you do go for insurance. So let them know, the liability, comprehensive, collision, make sure everything's the same. Your deductible is all the same, but I'll guarantee they're going to come in at different rates. Another thing that you should do is change companies every 3 years, 2 to 3 years. After a while, your insurance company is going to start charging you more money. Someone else is going to want your business. So if you were to shop it around after 2 or 3 years, I will guarantee you'll get something lower. Let's just take a look here on the chart where a female is paying more. AAA, you're paying $648 for a female. You're paying $639 as a male, a little bit cheaper. Same thing with Allstate, a little bit cheaper for a male. But then when you look at Esurance, $868 compared to $862, it's more expensive for a male. So you could see by going around and shopping, Fireman's Fund is the same. Very rarely do you see that. So you can see from company to company, it's going to be a little bit different. We talked about dropping collision comprehensive, shopping around rates every 2-3 years, increased deductibles we talked about, taking another type of driver's class like the skid school that I talked about. That's a defensive driving class. They may reduce your premium if you take a class like that. Good grades, write this down. If you are a B student in the top, let's say 20% of your graduating class, if you have a 3.0 GPA on a 4.0 scale, they're going to give you a lower rate. You could basically save about 20 to 30% on insurance. So on a $1,000 premium, that's $200-300. That's a lot of money, only for getting good grades. And it also accounts for college students too. I know we've got 2 UNH students in this class. So having good grades at UNH, you're going to save money. Right now, go on your parents' policy. If you were to go out on your own, you could almost triple what you're paying on your parents' policy. So you go on your parents' policy and it's $500 to $800, triple that. That's how much you would be paying on your own. So you're definitely going to save money. And when it comes time to buying a car, make sure that your car is sound. It's a safe vehicle. It has a 4 or 5 star rating, that it's not popular amongst thieves. All these things go into coming up with rates. So the more research that you do, the more informed that you are, the more that you're going to save. Sometimes getting a car app will lower your insurance because it monitors your driving techniques. Let me show you Allstate. They've got one. Let's watch this.
When small accidents happen, don't let it take up more time than it has to. Let Allstate's Quick Photo Claim help get you back to your routine without the extra hassle. Once you've downloaded the Allstate mobile app, you can use Quick Photo Claim to submit your damages easily on your smartphone. The Quick Photo Claim feature within the Allstate mobile app is designed to use photos of your vehicle to provide a repair quote for minor damage without having to meet an adjuster or visit a body shop. To begin, make sure you're in a safe, well-lit area and that you have a good cellular connection. Open your Allstate app and select Quick Photo Claim from the home screen. After entering your claim number, the app will prompt you to take at least 3 photos of the damaged area. To avoid glare, turn your mobile camera's flash off. Tap the screen to focus the camera if the shot seems blurry. Next, Quick Photo Claim provides a frame for you to take photos of all 4 corners of your vehicle. The last step is to capture a photo of your odometer and VIN. The app will show you multiple locations where you can find your VIN on your vehicle. After the photos are submitted, an adjuster will review the information. Claim payments can be set up through the Allstate mobile app if you are registered and logged into My Account. Small accidents don't have to be a hassle. Download the Allstate mobile app and let Quick Photo Claim handle your fender bender in no time. Available for download in the App Store or Google Play.
Okay, so that had to do more with insurance, but I believe that if you do use the app, they also have another type of app that will monitor like whether you go too fast, take your turns too sharp. It's amazing what they can track in a vehicle now that they've got all this technology. So this was a quick overview of what to do in a situation where you've had a car crash. So like I said, I hope that you never have to encounter what we talked about tonight. If you do, hopefully you learn something. You know the steps to follow, how to get the information. Remember, you're going to need that information for your insurance claim and on the accident report that you're going to do. Let me take a peek. We got 16 people only on. So I will not be driving with people that haven't completed their homework. So you can do it now or you can do it in July. It's totally up to you. That's why it's important to stay for the whole class. Make sure you take good notes. Make sure you write things down. And I can give you credit for it because I can see that you're checking in, but I have a feeling some of you are checking out after you check in, and that's not good. Now, we had a contest. A lot of people came up with some good guesses, but the winner of the tire gauge, the damage to the driver's ed vehicle, most people had right around $1,200 or less. Okay, so a lot of people thought it was just a little fender bender, not too much. It actually was $3,300. So the winner of the tire gauge is Lauren. Lauren, you have won yourself the tire gauge. So I'm going to have to make a note on your sheet, and when you drive with me, I will give you your tire gauge. Maybe we should do this again on another class. Somewhere in the middle of class, I'll ask a question, and then you're going to have to give me an answer of what it is. But I thought that was pretty fun, pretty cool. So hopefully you learned something tonight. Homework, got to do that. We're going to be talking about highway driving tomorrow. It says road rage, but we'll see if we get to that or not. We may do that next week. And we'll talk more about next week tomorrow. But there's going to be a little bit of a change to things. So that is it for tonight. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Continue to drive with your parents. Get those 40 hours in. I think it's going to rain tomorrow, so you probably won't be able to get outside much. But thanks for showing up. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Good night.